Hello and welcome. Good day to you. Once again, it's 15 minutes. And on today's edition of our 15 minutes interview, we have CARMELLE CADET. I hope I have pronounced this name correctly. All right, this is Coin News Extra, and Quincy San is my name. And you know, of course, when you hear Coin News Extra, you think about blockchain, you think about technology. And when you hear CARMELLE CADET, it's good to have you, Mom. So tell us a bit about yourself just before we delve in.
Of course. So I am the founder and CEO of a fintech company, EMTECH, and we build blockchain solutions for central banks for them to digitize their cash.
Okay.
We build modern API-first technology for central banks to modernize regulatory environment for fintechs, and that's a very dynamic space, and we're very excited to do that.
Amazing.
I'm originally from Haiti, and it's just for me, kind of coming into Africa it feels like home.
Feels like home.
I
totally get that. All right, so this is actually the second time that we are having you on Coin News Extra globally, because this is like the branch in Nigeria, and the very first time it was like online, but I am really excited, super duper excited that right now we have her physically. So if you are here with us live, it means you are in Nigeria, okay? So what has brought you home, as you have referred it?
Of course. So Africa is on a journey of innovation. I mean, there's no denying that. When we're speaking here today after big unicorn announcement for Flutterwave, and the market for Africa is just amazing. And blockchain, crypto has been something that Africa has really been drawn to. And as we look at financial inclusion, we see blockchain as a technology that can really empower that can really drive the true financial inclusion, or financial inclusion by design, we like to call it. The concept of anybody being able to have a wallet with currency that they can buy and pay groceries and pay for healthcare. You see a lot of people doing that right now in Bitcoin and other currencies. So what brought me to Africa this time around, we have amazing partnerships that we are sailing on. As part of this innovation wave, it's really important for us to do capacity building. People are still trying to understand what is a CBDC? What is a regulatory sandbox? What does open banking? What is this API thing that everybody's talking about? Why is this a big deal? So we partnered last year with GIC, which is a training and consulting company, global emphasis with consulting, and we're getting ready to launch and announce a really 5-day capacity building program that is going to touch on key pillars: CBDC, open banking, and regulatory sandbox. Because we think Nigeria is experiencing all of those things right now. And those are big transformational decisions and changes that even as a central bank you're making, but it's going to impact the whole ecosystem. Amazing. So every fintech, every bank is kind of waiting, what does CBDC mean for me? And every country is looking at Nigeria as far as how they're doing theirs and how they're going through their journey, what they're learning and how they're resetting and so on. So it's exciting. It's always exciting to be here.
I can imagine. Okay. All right. I know you've heard, so thank you so much for that insightful information. We're going to be going on a quick break because I want you to talk a bit more on CBDC. So you said CBDC, and of course people actually are like, okay, what's that? So some persons are really enlightened, but some persons have no idea. So you're going to be throwing more light on that for us, but that will be after this really short break. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We still have here with us CARMELLE CADET. I'm tempted to ask, what's the meaning of that name? But don't worry, I'm going to play around with that, all right? This is Coin News Extra, and we're still talking tech, we're talking blockchain, and I am super duper excited to be learning a lot of new stuff. It's like a breath of fresh air. So just before the break, you talked about CBDC, you talked about the fact that you're partnering and you're having a training shortly. What is CBDC? How would you describe CBDC? Because, like I was saying in the short interval, you were with IBM and then you transitioned and you started EMTECH, and then you started pioneering CBDC from an angle that did not really seem like the norm. So I want you to talk about how you see CBDC and that perspective that you have that you would also want the world to see.
Of course, great question. So I joined IBM straight out of college,
Okay.
but in my heart, leaving my country, being born and raised, I left my home when I was 16. So I was old enough for me to have a sense. And when I moved to New York, to the US, just the difference in financial markets, the reliability, the resilience, the availability, the liquidity and money that flows in financial markets, I always thought that everyone should have access to that, regardless of how much money you make, regardless of where you live. You should have access to resilient and efficient financial markets.
Okay.
Because it impacts everything else that you do in your life. I went to college. The first, credit card that I got was for $500 in the U.S. And I couldn't get loans. I couldn't get student loans because I didn't have my citizenship or residency at the time. I was just moved. And I went to school. I worked during the day, went to school at night. So I built, but you had a system that really enabled you to do that. So financial inclusion was always something I wanted to solve. So 8 years into IBM, I started hearing, so that was around 2017.
Okay.
I started hearing around blockchain, and not Bitcoin first, believe it or not. I got introduced into the technology itself first.
Okay.
And I said, wow, this is what I've been looking for. Because if you can use a technology that doesn't care about how much money somebody makes, where they live, what their education level is, in order for them to have access to currency, to money, to financial markets, this is what I've been looking for. So of course, and then IBM at the time decided to launch a blockchain division. So funny story. Yeah, exactly. Funny story. I was leaving. I was 7 months pregnant at the time.
Oh.
I was going on maternity leave, and I hurried up and.
I learned you had a 4-year-old daughter, right?
I have a 5-year-old.
She's not 5. Oh
yeah.
boy. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing.
Hi, Eli.
all right.
So it's for me, it was an opportunity for me to learn. So I was on maternity leave, binge watching on YouTube videos, learning about Bitcoin, learning about cryptocurrencies, and that's really how I learned. So I said, wow, I have to learn, and I have to go work in this. So sure enough, I joined as a deputy CFO for the IBM blockchain division. So started really building and standing up the division, and I fell in love with it. But one thing was happening that we were drafting on a whiteboard, like, what is a stable coin? That was 2017 at the time. What is a stable coin? And we're building a solution based on blockchain. So imagine commercial banks issuing their stable coins in order to do cross-border payments in real time, like settlement in real time. And at the time, we were going to the regulators, and the regulators, I was like, what is that? What is a stable coin? We don't understand this. We don't have framework for this. So the project died, even within a big company like IBM. So for every startup out there that's struggling with that, it's something that's
totally understandable.
It's totally understandable.
Please pick that one. Pick it.
Yes, because it felt even in a big corporation that had, millions
all
of dollars
and all of that.
Correct. And the regulatory space was not there. But what ended up, a project that came on my radar was the Central Bank of Bahamas. That put our RFP out and say, we want blockchain to modernize our payment infrastructure. And I had a light bulb moment somewhere between then and when we actually pitched and won the project with a partner. We architected what was the first CBDC with a partner that really had a lot of experience in network and so on. We pitched it and we won. And I said, wow, this could possibly be the POC, the proof of concept watch around the world. And sure enough, it was. And the light bulb moment for me was, what if we bring blockchain at the central banking level of the financial market? Could we digitize and modernize that whole infrastructure? Because the innovation that was happening was at the app level, at the retail level, but the underlying how money is really created hasn't changed for over 100 years. And that's how we got into CBDC. So for me, the light bulb came on. I said, I'm going to jump. I talked to my husband. I said, please trust me. I'm going to take all our savings and I'm going to start a company because I think there's something there.
I am blown. Really, I am blown. I do not know about you, but I am so blown. All right, time is the limit. I feel bad. I said to her, you cannot be in Nigeria and leave. I will not leave from you. I know it's like 15 minutes with CARMELLE CADET, but I am like, can we make it 30? What would you want to say to 3 sets of persons? First, somebody who has a startup company, just like you had EMTECH many years ago, and the person is also struggling to break even, and perhaps at that phase where I'm rising and falling. Two, what do you have to say to government organizations? What do you have to say to government organizations who you believe should key into the whole CBDC and what you're trying to launch and partner? And then, of course, the third set of person is just an ordinary individual who does not understand what blockchain is about. So three people: startups, government organizations, and a normal individual who has no idea what blockchain is about.
Can I start with the last one?
Okay.
I think it's so important as we go into this space. Sometimes being in a blockchain, you're so in a bubble, but I'm a big believer of using this technology to solve problems. It doesn't fit for everything, but it is absolutely critical for certain things. And what I've been trying to do, and I think there's more to do on that, is educate people on why blockchain, with the cash that you have in your hand today, imagine if you could have that cash be used anywhere, but you don't have to carry it with you, and that you could trust that just because it's digital does not necessarily mean that there's somebody tracking you.
Okay.
Because the technology enables for privacy, the technology enables for you to actually digitize money the same way your mobile network operator, your mobile money provider knows what transactions you do. That doesn't mean that they have access to all the details of your lives, right? But the concept of a central bank which prints money today, that asset is used by everyone, whether you're banked or not.
Okay.
Especially for people who are unbanked. That's their only way of using cash. It's paper form. Getting into the banking system can be very hard, especially if you're struggling, especially if you're, for whatever reason, you're unbanked. But the central bank digitizing the paper that you have can, with blockchain, can allow you to have access to digital finance without going to a bank.
Amazing.
Right? So it's really important. And of course, there's trust factor. People don't trust government a lot, right? And that, that is going to impact adoption of CBDC. So that's why we want to do a lot of education and really bring it closer to why a normal person, why that means for you. Because sometimes you wish you had a bank account, but you can't.
Okay.
But your cash being digital with a wallet to go with it, you're banked. You don't need an intermediary to do that. So from a regulatory perspective, and this is what we ended up landing on, although we went to talk to central banks about CBDC, we realized that there was a bigger problem around the fact that there was lack of regulatory environment to make CBDC, to make crypto, to make digital currency, to make blockchain, honestly, what it can really be.
Okay.
So that's why now we work with the central banks to start putting regulatory sandboxes, regulatory environments in place to make sure that that innovation can grow.
Okay.
And for a startup, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard even if you come from corporate. It's hard even if you come even if you're in the US. My fundraising journey has been a struggle, and we know the numbers as far as women getting funded, especially minority women being funded. But I'm in a very niche space. No one has ever done what we're doing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
No one has ever done what we're doing. So it takes us time to educate investors. But in the meantime, you have such a timely opportunity to build an innovation. Find a problem to solve. Because if you don't have a problem to solve, you spin, and it's not going to be worth the effort that it takes. If you're solving a problem, you'll have the drive to keep going.
Amazing. All right, because of time, this is how we get to call it a wrap. We want to say thank you so much for honoring our invitation, for being here. So perhaps because I know someone is like, oh, there's another question she didn't finish. I just want, how can people probably contact you, reach out to you, maybe send you a message? I know you're on LinkedIn. Are you active there?
I am very active on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Yes, I think I sent a connection already. You're going to see me there.
Okay.
All right, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for being connected. It is still Coin News Extra. We're all about tech and blockchain and cryptocurrency. Bye for now.